Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be continuing the fourth webinar series with a conversation about addressing the e-school bus challenges in underserved districts. Today on the panel, we have Philip and Gilbert, and I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves. So please turn on your webcams. And Gilbert, would you like to start with the introductions?
Sure, Lucia. Thank you for having me. My name is Gilbert Rosas, and I am the Director of Sustainability and Adaptation for Modesto City Schools. I've been involved in two different school district deployments for electric school buses, and along with a lot of different sustainability initiatives. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, thank you for being here. And Philip, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Philip Burgoyne Allen. I'm an associate at the World Resources Institute, where I work on the Electric School Bus Initiative. I'm based in Washington, D.C., and my work focuses on providing technical assistance for school districts who are interested in electric school buses.
Excellent. So today, both of our panelists are going to be giving us a presentation about the work they do and electric school buses today. So we're going to be starting with Gilbert's presentation. So you are welcome to turn on your camera and take it away.
Thanks, Lucia. Today we're talking about electric school bus deployments. The goals for today are to definitely share two faster record deployment examples, both at Stockton Unified and Modesto City Schools. The other is to talk about successful project partner roles. And the third is to identify ways to overcome different roadblocks that may be preventing you from deploying. And then the fourth thing is obviously for encouragement and assistance. The journey to electrification, I've always said, is like a road. So if you're here and you want to end up to full electrification, the problem is that this road that you have to cross is usually the Autobahn. So it's quite dangerous. There's a lot of hazards and considerations that you really want to look at when you're starting to look at electric school buses. You know, how many champions do you have in the district? Who's your supporters? Are there utility upgrades that you're going to need for this? You know, what is your current capacity at your transportation yard? And then also, what about EV rates? So, you know, for your utility company, will you need solar? Will you need battery storage? You know, what are the different technical resources or experts that you're going to need, both for grant writing or funding opportunity, finance options, and then, you know, the RFP process, construction management, what bus supplier, what charge management are you going to use on it, smart chargers, dumb chargers, level 2, level 3, vehicle to grid. There's just a number of things that you have to work on in order to get there. So rather than running across the road that's dangerous, I've thought that you build a bridge over the road. And the bridge that helps you do this safer is to look at who are your supporters. Get with your utility company early and definitely talk with them about all the things you got to do. Look at your resources like WRI, for example, World Resources Institute, and Center for Transportation and the Environment. There's nothing better than having a 30-year veteran that's used to helping with the electrification process in buses. Grants and financing, who on your team or who can you get that will help with those things? Construction management, and then a bus supplier, and then also a charge management company. Uh, I can go through who we've used on our things, but those are just a way to show you visually what we're looking to do. Here's an example of the two different districts that I've worked with: Stockton Unified and Modesto City Schools. As you can see, I've gone from the 15th largest district to the 25th, telling how many students and approximate fleet size. Obviously, at Stockton, we only did 11 buses, but at Modesto, we're converting half our fleet. And that's a record, actually, for 30 Bluebird buses in a single order of Bluebird manufacturing. The time has been updated. We did Stockton in less than 11 months, and Modesto will be closer to about 9 months with some of the delays. We have 20 AC chargers and 4 DC chargers at Stockton, but we did 30 AC chargers and 2 DC chargers at Modesto City Schools. So we're definitely breaking records at Modesto. Here are our project partners: Turlock Irrigation District, Modesto Irrigation District, um, Schneider Electric, A to Z Bus Sales, Mobility House, as well as San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control. As I said, the purchase of 30 buses is a record for Bluebird. We're also doing some solar additions as well as some sustainable outdoor learning environments. Those are outdoor classrooms that we're doing. This kind of gives a layout of what we had to look at. If the power coming in is here and you've got an array of chargers, while we did our 32, we also stubbed out 12 stub ups for future use. So I think it's important to look at all the considerations of how you get on a school site and then be able to do it. And we are doing this for future generations. It's about kids being around the emissions less and about helping our students and also teaching our students what it is from a technical career path. Green career path choices are definitely what we want to show our young students. This is about Modesto City Schools and our webpage. This was at our EPA event. We've received funding from the EPA as well as California has some programs like the HVIP program, Hybrid Voucher Incentive Program. You check with your air district, you check with everybody to be able to do it. And it's just a long process of things that you have to do. I've always said that, I'm that single mom at the cash register and I've waited my turn in line and I'm going to beg, borrow, and steal every coupon I can to get what I need for my kids. I think it's very important to realize that electric buses requires a lot of plates to spin, and you need a lot of resources and a lot of people to do it, and you need some help. So picking a good bus supplier or a good construction management company like A to Z Bus or construction management like Schneider Electric or Mobility House, these are all the partners we use because they have the kind of experience that would really help out in this type of venture. So I am very thrilled to. Here's my contact information. You can look at our webpage that talks about mean green mowers and battery powered landscaping equipment, as well as electric gators. And this, along with the outdoor classrooms and the electric school buses, are really what's making Modesto City Schools a destination and district. But we're able to help out any way we can. So feel free to contact me if you like and ask any questions. Thank you. Appreciate being here. Thank you, Lucia.
Excellent. Thank you, Gilbert, for that presentation. And now we're going to be moving on to our next panelist, Philip. And yeah, Philip, I believe you should be able to move the slides on your own. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Take it away.
Great. Hello, everyone. First, I would like to thank Forth for hosting this panel today. As I said, my name is Philip Burgoyne Allen, and I work on the Electric School Bus Initiative at the World Resources Institute. We conduct research and provide support for school districts and other stakeholders interested in adopting electric school buses. A little bit more about WRI. At WRI, we have a global network of more than 1,400 experts. We've worked on electric mobility and transportation initiatives around the world and in the United States, bringing together stakeholders and experts in a variety of industries. This includes helping cities electrify their bus systems, as well as working with electric utilities to advance clean energy. We are also drawing on our expertise to partner with organizations driving the transition to electric school buses in the United States. We're working with multiple partners to transform and electrify the school bus market, build unstoppable momentum to electrify the entire U.S. school bus fleet by 2030, and ensure that the transition to electric school buses is equitable. We're here to help make sure that the electric school bus opportunity becomes a reality. We're working with stakeholders at all levels to offer technical assistance, expert staff, one of a kind data, practical resources, and deeply rooted knowledge, all with the goal of a transition to electric school buses that prioritizes the most impacted communities. We partner with and support organizations nationwide who are doing important work to bring electric school buses to their communities, and we believe it's imperative that the transition to electric school buses be equitable. So, why are we doing this work? We believe that school bus electrification provides an opportunity to accelerate decarbonization and provides a number of health, climate, and economic benefits to children and families across the country. These benefits include improved health and cleaner air, lower operating costs and new jobs in green manufacturing, and opportunities for resiliency and renewable energy integration, including with evolving technologies like vehicle to grid. So, why are we prioritizing equity? As we carry out each piece of this project, we cannot forget that the landscape in which we're operating, and we must do our best to ensure that school bus electrification does not perpetuate existing racism or discrimination. So here I've highlighted some of the ways that we're looking at addressing this. I think this includes everything from how we choose our partners to what type of technical assistance we provide to school districts. For example, the Electric School Bus Initiative is prioritizing roughly 1,000 school districts for our support based on household income, racial demographics, air pollution, and tribal status. And we see that as a really important way to ensure that the work we're doing is targeted at the communities who need support the most and have the most to overcome as they move towards a transition to electric school buses. But there are a number of barriers that are facing school districts as they look and consider adopting electric school buses. Uh, we're working directly with school districts and other partners to address these barriers in a number of ways. But first, to cover some of what those barriers are, this includes the higher upfront cost for electric school buses, the additional time and expertise school districts need to develop in order to adopt these new technologies, managing the installation and deployment of new infrastructure, and then once they've done all that, trying to scale their fleet electrification to ensure that growing shares over time of their fleet are being electrified. And I think it's also very important to note that these barriers disproportionately impact underserved communities as well. So we need to make sure that equity is a focus of this work, and it's even more important that we support the transition to electric school buses in these communities that need the most support because, they're like I said, they're not only dealing with challenges that predate the transition to electric school buses, but they also have all of the same challenges that other districts are going to be facing as well. As I mentioned previously, we're working with school districts and other partners to address these barriers. So, some of our work that spans our technical assistance includes things like highlighting successful case studies and providing tools and resources, mapping stakeholders and enhancing local partnerships, and supporting school districts as they plan for funding, financing, infrastructure, and operations, and generally everything related to adopting and deploying electric school buses. As part of this work, we've developed a number of tools and templates and resources for school districts and other stakeholders that are interested in school bus electrification. We have a sampling of those here, but there are many more on our website. But some of these resources include a new clearinghouse of funding and financing opportunities, which contains information regarding the type of funding available, program eligibility, funding levels, and more. A market study and buyer's guide, which provides a comprehensive overview of the electric school bus market as well as a catalog of the electric school bus models available to date with detailed vehicle specifications, a detailed guide and template roadmap for each step of the transition to electric school buses, including what steps to take, which stakeholders to consult, and what questions to ask, a guide to electric school bus business models to help school districts assess their existing roles, responsibilities, and financial obligations, and consider an array of new options that have emerged in the school transportation market, a variety of templates and other tools to help school districts get started on tasks like creating promotional materials about their electric school buses or developing requests for information or requests for proposals to gather more information or gather bids from manufacturers. So we have a lot of resources there. Another one is a series of explainers on our website that's focused on various topics that are critical to school bus electrification, like engaging with your utility, understanding vehicle to grid technology, range, safety, and reliability, a lot of topics that we cover there. And we have other resources available too, and even more that are currently in development, all of which are available for free on our website, electricschoolbusinitiative.org. So we strongly recommend you check out our website to see what we have available there, and it's growing day by day. So we're hoping to have a lot of resources available for school districts who are trying to make this transition. I mentioned a roadmap before. Here you see a graphic of what we consider to be the electric school bus roadmap. Our resources provide guidance on each stage of this roadmap as districts move forward with adopting electric school buses. This includes 5 key steps. 1, setting a foundation. 2, planning for infrastructure and operations. 3, navigating procurement and installation. 4, training staff and deploying new technology. And 5, monitoring the progress and impact of electric school bus projects. This graphic here has a little bit more detail on those, the sub-steps involved in each stage of the roadmap. But again, on our website, you can find this graphic. You can find the template roadmap I mentioned earlier that can help individual districts think through how they want to proceed with adopting electric school buses. So again, a lot of great resources available on our website. Uh, and our technical assistance is also being informed on an ongoing basis by our work with school districts and other partners. So, we're both doing research to develop these resources, but then also using them, working with school districts, hearing what they have to say, and then using what we learn to feed back into our technical assistance and make it a better and better product over time. So, we hope you'll engage with us as you're considering the shift to electric school buses. I'll highlight some things here that we've learned from our work with school districts to date. That includes the importance of designating a project manager and engaging the community in project planning, establishing a relationship with your utility as soon as possible, pursuing managed charging in most cases to reduce your energy costs, negotiating for specific needs and contracts like staff training and maintenance, and finding creative opportunities for additional student engagement. Once again, for all of our resources, tools, and templates, please visit our website, electricschoolbusinitiative.org. For updates on our work, you can also subscribe to our quarterly newsletter on our website or follow us on Twitter and Facebook. If you have any questions about this presentation or electric school buses generally, you can again reach us through our website, check out our office hours that we're having for school districts who are interested. You can also feel free to email me at philip.burgoyne-allen@wri.org. And I believe some of our resources and my contact information will also be shared with attendees as part of the recap from this webinar. So with that, I want to thank you for your time, and I'll hand it back over to Lucia, and I look forward to our panel discussion.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Philip. And yes, for those of you who have not checked out WRI's electric school bus website, it is beautiful. So highly recommend checking that out. And yeah, now I invite both of our panelists to turn on our webcam so we can jump right into the Q&A. All right. So for the first question, I wanted to ask, both of you talked about this in your presentations, but again, what do you think is the most important challenge to be alleviated in order to increase electric school bus adoption in underserved districts?
One thing I feel like is important is definitely funding, right? WRI has put out resources about funding sources and a whole bunch of things. A lot of it is the money, it's an upfront cost. The other is the expertise, the ability to have work with peers or work with experts in the field so that you get an idea of that. And so that would definitely, when you have your peers or other districts that have done things, I think that helps out a great bit. Um, at Stockton and Modesto, they were both 82% disadvantaged communities where 82% of the population is below the poverty level. And so it really is a mix, and it's very important that both of these districts that I've worked for have transitioned to electric school buses, because not only will it be better for our kids around our kids, but it'll also help the community. And I think that's giving good examples of how to do things is very important. It's important to see people that look like you and have the expertise and know their community well and serve them hand in hand. So I'm very excited to be at Modesto and to be able to do that. But I think funding and getting the resources of how to do these things properly is critical.
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Gilbert said. I think, one, the primary challenge we hear about is the higher upfront costs that are associated with electric school buses and the need for additional infrastructure. So, recently the Clean School Bus Program has been a helpful way to address that, and there's more years of that funding to come. And a grant program, in addition to the rebates program we saw launched earlier in 2022. They're expecting to have a grant program under the Clean School Bus Program as well in 2023. So, there are options out there, including at the state level. But again, without consistent forms of funding to invest in electric vehicles, that's definitely a challenge for school districts. I think another challenge that we've seen a lot of in our work is just limited staff capacity in school districts. With, before districts are even transporting students, there's so many other things that they need to do. Food service, um, and not to mention educating students, right? So there's already a lot on school districts' plate, and that's true in school transportation as well. And so, finding ways to support staff so that they have the capacity to learn more about electric school buses and make these decisions is really critical. And that's a place where we're trying to step in with our work and provide some of that support. We also always recommend that school districts reach out to their utility as soon as possible because that's another place with expertise and potential support. So again, just finding ways to increase staff capacity, I think, is the other main challenge.
Excellent. Absolutely. Yeah. Considering what these districts already have on their plates is really important, and knowing the context of where they're coming from, and absolutely reducing that upfront cost is going to be huge. Philip, you mentioned the EPA's Clean School Bus program, and I had a question about that. So let's jump into that one. What were your reactions to the first round of the EPA's Clean School Bus program? What did you think went well? What do you think could have gone better?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of outreach to districts associated with the program. So we saw that there was a fairly high rate of districts applying for that funding. We also saw that an overwhelming majority, I think roughly 90% of the rebate funding that was announced went to electric school buses. So that was great to see as well. Um, Thirdly, the EPA had a list of priority districts based on different factors. And so we also saw that a strong majority of the districts who were awarded were from high priority districts. And so those districts qualified for a higher level of funding for the buses that they receive rebates for. So that was great to see. Uh, I think one thing we did see in the application process was that, while EPA made the application very simple for districts to fill out, which was great, it runs through the sam.gov portal, which is how you apply for federal funding. And so we did see districts who had challenges getting into their accounts or making sure their registration was up to date in the sam.gov portal. So that was one challenge. And I think overall the level of funding, again, there's more years of this funding to come. But one thing we did see as well was that EPA initially was planning to, I believe, give 500 million in these rebates, but then due to the high application rates from districts, they nearly doubled that. And so they gave out nearly $1 billion in rebates, which again, from our perspective, is great to see the appetite and energy there in communities to take on this new technology.
Lucia, we also received 8 buses under the EPA, and we thought it went well. But kind of echoing some of what Philip said, the SAM.gov was a challenge, and our bus manufacturer, that A to Z Bus, put in the application for us, and so that helped out with getting the support to doing that. Again, it's about leveraging all your resources and educating yourself about these things and putting the best foot forward and just trying. I mean, you learn about the process by doing. So I want to encourage a lot of districts just to try and to get out there and figure and find a way, right?
Definitely. Gilbert, that's excellent to hear. And yes, I agree with those points as well. I'm interested to see how they'll continue to evolve and improve the process, because there will be several rounds of funding, and it seems like they are committed to improving the process and taking in feedback. So I'm excited to see how that grows. Um, I also wanted to ask what your thoughts on repowers were, and do you see them as being a key strategy to ESB adoption?
Yeah, I can jump in there. I think there are some benefits to repowers. Since we mentioned the Clean School Bus program, I'll note that repowers were not an eligible vehicle option for this first round of rebate funding, but the EPA is still determining, like you said, what the next steps will look like for the Clean School Bus program. So they may be included in future rounds, but we just don't know that information yet. Um, but I think the primary benefit with repowers is that they have a lower upfront cost than a built for purpose new electric school bus, which can be a great benefit. But also, one of the things we've seen with the Clean School Bus program was that the focus was basically using an electric school bus to replace the oldest vehicles in your fleet. So, I think there are benefits to getting those oldest, dirtiest diesel buses off of the road and replacing them with electric. Repowers are a little bit different because you're, converting an existing bus. So you might not necessarily want to use a repower. You might not necessarily want to repower your oldest bus, right? So it's a different segment of the market. So, addressing different segments of the market, providing different price points, those are all things that we think are great. Another potential challenge on repowers is just the specificity. If you're repowering a specific model of an electric school, or excuse me, if you're repowering a specific model of school bus or a particular model year, that just might limit, you know, I guess what types of buses are being provided as repowers. But again, it's an evolving part of the market, and we're excited to see it growing a lot.
We didn't really use the repowers at Modesto or Stockton, but we do acknowledge that it may be a means for people to do it, like you said, with the less upfront cost. I kind of see it like we're all in the same boat fishing together, right? And everybody else will try different lures and different depths to see what works best for them. So again, I think it's a useful tool, and as long as it helps us all get the 480,000 buses converted, any way, shape, or form, we're all for it.
Yeah, and I would add there too, to your point, one of the things we're expecting with the Clean School Bus Program rebates and other state level and utility provided sources of funding and incentives for electric school buses is obviously that increase in demand. And so one of the things we're seeing is the need for supply to catch up and meet that demand. So, repowers are just another place where, again, different segments of the market can get addressed by manufacturers.
Right. I'm excited to see how repowers can be used as a tool for districts. Again, we're just trying to get more electric school buses on the road. So sometimes, however you've got to get there, it's a good way to go. Um, I'd say that for our final question, let's look to the future. In the next 5 years, what headline would you like to see regarding ESB adoption and usage? So, what article do you want to see on your LinkedIn feed next in the next 5 years?
I'd like to see. I've always thought that not every district can be like Modesto, where we're going to convert half the fleet in one purchase, right? That's tough to do. But I think like the example of Stockton, where you got 24 chargers uh, and 4 buses for less than $5 million, and you got it all up and running in less than 1 year. Philip's model on there says that it's an 18 to 24 month process, and to be able to do all that for $5 million in less than a year, I can pretty much guarantee that can happen with the right partners. So I think that model is something that maybe we could adopt throughout the United States, where you have a disadvantaged community, and say they have a competition, and the most ready, disadvantaged community that is ready to adopt would be awarded that $5 million based on merit and based on a kind of a small competition. But again, I think that we could do that throughout the United States and all 50 states, and do that where, the whole country's doing it, not just a selected few, because then we're considering every disadvantaged community in every state.
Yeah, I think there are a number of things we'd like to see over the next 5 years and over the next 10 years. Thinking about the next 5 years, I think one, the Clean School Bus Program, as I mentioned, is a 5-year program. So we want to see those rebates getting in the hands of districts as they move forward with procuring school buses, and just make sure that it's not just about getting the funding out, but also helping them do that well. So, we want to see that funding be maximized to help school districts adopt electric school buses. Like I said before, we expect to see manufacturing continue to scale up to meet that demand. We think, or I guess one thing we'd like to see, as more and more districts are operating these school buses, electric school buses, and as more manufacturers are iterating on their original models, increased uh, or I guess more limited reliability issues or range concerns, some of the hurdles that districts need to navigate, just more familiarity among districts with making sure all the components of their system are interoperable, and things like that. Um, I think over the next 10 years, we want to see that continue to grow. When you say the LinkedIn headline I want to see the most, it's the United States electrifies its last diesel school bus, or whatever the case may be. We want to support full fleet electrification by 2030, which is an aggressive goal, we're aware. But so when thinking about the 10-year mark, I think it's seeing not just more and more electric school buses being put on the road, but also seeing fleets increase their share that they have electrified, right? So moving from, we have 5 or 10 electric school buses, or maybe only 1 or 2 that we're piloting, to seeing a more comprehensive approach to electrifying full fleets. Um, and then lastly, I think both in the 5-year mark and the 10-year mark, we know that school districts need support to understand the new technology, the new infrastructure needs, new relationships that they'll need to develop with their utility, with new manufacturers, with new types of maintenance, or new skills that staff need to develop. And so over time, seeing more and more technical assistance from the EPA, or from states and utilities, or from organizations like WRI, to help make sure that districts are able to successfully adopt electric school buses.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the last couple of years, electric school bus adoption has gone so far. To think where we're going to be in 5 years or 10 years, I mean, truly, we're on the way.
Yeah,
Um,
and sorry, one more thing I would add there too is that there are some emerging technologies, like thinking about vehicle to grid integration, um, as well as integrating electric school buses with renewables like solar and wind. So I think, both in the 5-year mark and the 10-year mark, we're looking forward to seeing more of that, a wider adoption of those technologies as well, and seeing how electric school buses are fitting into a broader system of, energy efficient schools that are kind of doing it across the board and not just on the buses.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate both of you for your insight today. Gilbert, do you have any final words? Anything you want to share at the end?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to say is that I'd like to encourage superintendents and school boards to not just dip their toes in, but really aggressively go it. In California, there are emission rules that are coming up that tell us that it's not a time to wait, right? I mean, waiting for the next couple of years till diesel buses are not able to run anymore, you should do your homework now. It's kind of like your air conditioning going out in the middle of summer. You're going to pay more if you wait till the deadline for it to go in, and not just 1 or 2 buses, but really looking at how you convert a significant part of your fleet. You can do it, and if you don't sacrifice for what you want ends up being a sacrifice. And so again, with electric school buses, it's the right idea at the right time, right now. So I just encourage everybody to do what they can and be very proactive and go after it, and not just in a small way. So, but I'm encouraged and enthused by all the things that have changed, and I think we've got a lot more to do. So I'm very hopeful and thankful for um, resources like Fourth, and then also WRI, to provide those kind of different things to help out along the way. But I'm available anytime if people have questions or concerns or comments. Thank you.
Definitely. And yes, Gil and Philip were both kind enough to share their contact information, so that is available. And thank you so much to both of you for joining me in this conversation and being on the panel today. You both shared some really great insights, as well as where ESBs are headed and where we are now. So that concludes today's conversation on addressing the e-school bus challenges in underserved districts. Thank you again to our panelists. And thank you to our sponsor, Idaho Power. Okay, so that's